If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge. And when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the podcast. The birth of Area 51 as a top-secret military testing site. In the spring of 1955, a small aircraft flew low over the Nevada desert. Inside sat three men who would change history forever. CIA officer Richard Bissell peered out the window. Next to him, Lockheed's brilliant engineer Kelly Johnson scanned the empty landscape below. They were searching for something that didn't exist yet. The Cold War was growing colder by the day. America needed eyes in the sky. The military had a new spy plane called the U-2. But where could they test it? The aircraft was too secret for regular air bases, too advanced for prying eyes. The men in that small plane were hunting for the perfect hiding spot. Below them stretched miles of nothing. Sand, rock, mountains that looked like sleeping giants. Then they saw it. A dried lake bed sat in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by peaks that rose like walls. The place had no name that mattered. Maps called it Groom Lake, though no water had touched that ground for years. Johnson pointed down. "That's it," he said. The lake bed was flat as a tabletop, long enough for any runway they might need. And best of all, it was invisible to the world. No roads led there. No towns sat nearby. Just endless desert that kept secrets well. Within weeks, President Eisenhower signed papers that made it official. The Atomic Energy Commission quietly took control of the land. No questions asked. No news stories written. The government moved fast when it needed to hide something important. By summer, trucks began rolling across the desert. Workers arrived before dawn and left after dark. They built the first runway from scratch, pouring concrete under the blazing sun. Simple hangars rose from the sand like metal mushrooms. A few buildings for the crews. Nothing fancy, nothing that would catch attention from above. The men who worked there had special names for their new home. Some called it Paradise Ranch, though paradise seemed like a joke in that heat. Others just said the ranch, as if they were talking about raising cattle instead of testing aircraft that could fly higher than anyone thought possible. CIA agents arrived first. Air Force personnel followed. Then came Lockheed's best engineers and test pilots, all sworn to secrecy, all carrying pieces of a puzzle that would soon take flight in ways that would amaze and terrify the world. The desert kept their secrets. Day after day, strange shapes moved across that empty sky. But what exactly were they testing? And why did they choose a place so far from everything that the nearest town was just a dot on the horizon? The rise of UFO sightings and public suspicion in the Cold War era. The desert sky above Nevada began telling strange stories in the late 1950s. Ranch hands working near Groom Lake noticed odd lights dancing across the darkness. These weren't stars or planes they knew. The lights moved too fast, changed direction too quickly, and disappeared without sound. Bob Lazar wasn't the first to see something unusual. Years before his famous claims, dozens of witnesses watched mysterious craft hovering above the restricted zone. A cattle rancher named Jim Morrison spotted a silver disc-shaped object in broad daylight. It hung motionless for several minutes before shooting straight up and vanishing. The timing was perfect for fear to grow. America was locked in a Cold War with Russia. People worried about secret weapons and surprise attacks. When strange things appeared in the sky, minds raced to the worst possibilities. Was this Soviet technology? Or something even more frightening? Local newspapers began collecting these reports. The Las Vegas Sun ran a small article about unusual aerial activity near the test site. radio stations fielded calls from confused residents. Most official sources stayed silent, which only made people more suspicious. What witnesses didn't know was that Area 51 had become home to revolutionary aircraft testing. The U-2 spy plane was taking its first flights. This high-altitude aircraft looked unlike anything in the sky. Its silver body caught sunlight in strange ways. It flew higher than commercial planes, creating an otherworldly appearance. Test pilots described how civilian aircraft would spot them during daylight hours. Air traffic controllers received puzzled reports from airline crews. "There's something up there at impossible altitude," one pilot radioed. "It's not showing up on our instruments." The government faced a difficult choice. They couldn't explain these sightings without revealing classified military programs. So they said nothing at all. This silence created a vacuum that conspiracy theories rushed to fill. By the mid-1960s, UFO research groups were forming across the country. They collected witness statements and mapped sighting patterns. Nevada's restricted airspace became a focal point. Researchers noticed that many reports clustered around one specific area, the same location where Area 51 operated in complete secrecy. Television shows began exploring these mysteries. Magazine articles speculated about government cover-ups. The phrase "flying saucer" entered everyday conversation. Each official denial only strengthened public belief that something extraordinary was being hidden. Annie Jacobson's research later revealed how test flights of experimental aircraft perfectly matched many UFO sightings from this period. But in the moment, witnesses had no way to know they were seeing the future of aviation rather than visitors from space. The legend was born from this perfect storm of secrecy, fear, and genuine mystery. Real advanced technology met public imagination, creating stories that would grow for decades to come. The Robert Lazar revelation and the alien technology claims in 1989. The phone call came from someone who claimed to know impossible things. Las Vegas investigative reporter George Knapp had heard wild stories before, but this voice carried something different. The caller spoke with technical precision about places that did not exist on any map. His name was Bob Lazar. He worked as a physicist, he said, but not at any ordinary laboratory. He described a secret facility called S4, hidden in the desert mountains near Area 51. What he claimed to have seen there would change everything people thought they knew about the mysterious base. In November 1989, Lazar agreed to appear on television. His face was hidden in shadows, his voice disguised. He spoke carefully, choosing each word like a man walking through a minefield. The government had hired him, he explained, to study craft alien spacecraft, 9 of them, each one built with technology that defied human understanding. He described propulsion systems that bent gravity itself, materials that could not be damaged, energy sources that produced no heat, no sound, no visible exhaust. The craft moved in ways that broke every rule of physics taught in textbooks. Lazar drew diagrams on camera. He explained how the alien engines worked, using an element that did not exist on Earth's periodic table. Element 115, he called it. Scientists had never seen it, never created it, never imagined it could exist. The interview exploded across the country like wildfire. People who had never heard of Area 51 suddenly knew its name. Television shows replayed Lazar's testimony. Newspapers printed his drawings. The secret base transformed overnight from a Cold War testing ground into something far stranger. But questions followed the headlines. Investigators dug into Lazar's background and found gaps. His claimed degrees from prestigious universities could not be verified. former colleagues had no memory of him. Official records seemed to vanish whenever his name appeared. Was this proof of a cover-up, or evidence that Lazar had invented his entire story? The mystery deepened with every investigation. Some people called him a hero who risked everything to expose the truth. Others dismissed him as a fraud seeking attention and money. The debate raged for months, then years. Scientists demanded proof Lazar could not provide. Believers pointed to details in his story that seemed too complex to fabricate. Government officials refused to comment, which only fueled more speculation. One thing remained certain. Bob Lazar had changed Area 51 forever. The base would never again be just another military installation. In the minds of millions, it had become humanity's gateway to secrets from other worlds. Declassified documents and official responses to Area 51's secrets. The year 2013 changed everything we thought we knew about Area 51. After decades of silence, the government did something shocking. They opened their files. Thousands of pages spilled out like water from a broken dam. Secret documents that had been locked away for 60 years suddenly appeared on government websites. The truth was stranger than many had imagined, yet simpler than the wildest theories suggested. The papers told stories of spy planes, not alien ships, but human-made aircraft that could fly higher and faster than anything the world had ever seen. The U-2 spy plane was born here in the 1950s. Its black wings could soar 20 miles above the Earth, invisible to radar below. Pilots called it the Dragon Lady, but that was just the beginning. Deep in the desert, engineers built something even more incredible. The Oxcart program created the A-12, a plane that could race across the sky at 3 times the speed of sound. Its titanium skin gleamed silver in the Nevada sun. Test flights began in 1962, shrouded in complete secrecy. The documents revealed something else amazing. Soviet fighter jets had been secretly flown at Area 51. Projects with code names like Have Donut and Have Drill brought enemy aircraft to American soil. Pilots studied every bolt and wire, learning how to defeat these machines in combat. One particular story stood out. In 1966, a Soviet pilot defected with his MiG-21. The plane landed in Israel, then mysteriously disappeared. Months later, it was being tested in the Nevada desert under the project name Have Drill. American pilots flew the enemy fighter, discovering its weaknesses. These revelations answered many questions, but created new ones. If the government was willing to admit these secrets, what were they still hiding? The documents covered projects from decades past. What about today? Officials made careful statements. Yes, they said, Area 51 was real. Yes, secret aircraft were tested there. But no, they insisted, aliens were never part of the story. Every strange sighting had a human explanation. The UFO researchers felt both victory and defeat. They had been right about government secrecy, but the secrets were about spy planes, not space visitors. Yet something felt incomplete. The admitted projects ended in the 1970s. What filled the decades since? The base remained active, guarded, and mysterious. New aircraft surely flew there, but their details stayed buried. The 2013 revelations painted a picture of Area 51 as a workshop for impossible flying machines. Each project pushed the boundaries of what humans could build. The base existed to create aircraft that seemed to defy the laws of physics themselves. Modern mysteries and persistent speculations in a sealed desert. Something strange happened in 2019. A college student in California created a simple Facebook page. The post said, "Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us." Within days, over 2 million people had signed up. The world was watching. The joke became something bigger. People from dozens of countries planned to meet in the Nevada desert. News crews arrived. The military issued warnings. Local towns prepared for crowds that never fully came. But the message was clear. After all these decades, Area 51 still captures our imagination in ways that government explanations cannot touch. Modern satellite images tell their own curious story. New buildings appear and disappear. Runways extend into the desert. Strange shapes move across the sand. Amateur observers spend hours studying these photos, marking changes that official sources never discuss. The base has grown larger, not smaller. Security has increased, not relaxed. More guards patrol the perimeter. New warning signs appear in additional languages. Electronic sensors dot the landscape like mechanical flowers. Something important continues to happen behind those fences. Popular culture feeds the mystery with fresh energy. Movies show aliens walking through secret hallways. Television shows promise inside information. Video games let players explore what they can never see in real life. Each story adds another layer to the legend. Local communities live with the reality every day. Rachel, Nevada, sits just outside the restricted zone. The tiny town sells alien-themed souvenirs to visitors from around the world. Residents share strange stories about lights in the sky and unusual aircraft sounds. They speak carefully, knowing that their neighbors might work at the base. Government officials release selected documents. They explain some old projects. They admit to testing experimental aircraft. But each revelation creates more questions than answers. Why release some information and not others? What remains hidden in those classified files? The truth seems to exist in layers. We know the base tests advanced military technology. We know it houses programs too sensitive for public knowledge. We know it attracts the world's most skilled engineers and scientists. But we also know that something more waits behind those mountains. Area 51 represents a perfect storm of secrecy and curiosity. The more officials insist there's nothing unusual, the more people wonder what they're really hiding. After 70 years, the mystery has become its own living thing, growing stronger with each denial, each new fence, each unexplained light in the desert sky. Perhaps that's exactly how some people want it to stay.